Hey, Trail people, you're listening to the Trail Network podcast, hosted by Rachel Drake, Leah Yingling, Hilary Yang, and myself, Katie Asmuth. We're here to celebrate the community, connections, and untold stories within trail running. Today, we have a very special episode for you, Leah Yingling's birth story, and she's a new mom, and how suddenly her life was upended and had to be induced unexpectedly. Thank you, Leah, for being so open and honest about this experience. Special shout out to Osprey, who sponsored the episode of the show. Let's dive in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Trail Network podcast. This is the super special episode because we have Katie Asmuth, I'm Hilary Yang, and Leah Yingling, who has had a very eventful and exciting couple of weeks. And oh my gosh, Leah, I'm just like, we're both so overjoyed for you and just thrilled. And how are you?
I'm good. I was just commenting to Mike the other day that our July looks nothing like we anticipated our July looking like. So yeah, I was due to have a baby on August 16th, and little guy wanted to make a 3.5, he was about to make a 6-week early appearance, but we held off till 3.5 weeks early and just delivered him this past week and completely uprooted our lives, but also like upended my heart and soul. And yeah, it's so exciting.
Leah, I want to take a step back and think about your pregnancy at large, because you had such an incredible look from the outside, right? Like You're running that gorge, you're going to Snowdonia, you're like all over the place doing commentary, Western States, where like you're just like bumping around, doing all the things.
Literally.
And so can you just kind of walk us through we knew because you told us about what was happening, what was going on, but can you talk to us through like that transition of everything going really well and like you're kind of moving and grooving to like, whoa, like all the uncertainty, all the scary feelings, all the I have no control right now.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, it was wild. Like I was telling people right after Western States, they'd be like, or even at Western States, oh, how are you feeling in pregnancy? I was like, saying I feel so good. I felt so good physically. I felt so good emotionally. We had like some ups and downs throughout like the second trimester, just with anatomy scans and stuff. But by the third trimester, everything looked good. We were flowing. I felt physically good. Wasn't running a ton, but like ran up the escarpment 2 times during Western States week and felt amazing. And then it was the Tuesday or Wednesday after Western States week where I just started not feeling great. And I think when you're pregnant, you know what feels good and what doesn't feel so good, and you're really like in tune with your body. And I ended up going to the hospital the Thursday after Western States with just like neurological feeling symptoms, and ended up getting a like mild to severe preeclampsia diagnosis, which is related to high blood pressure during pregnancy that kind of comes on out of nowhere, related to the placenta, that can also have pretty bad implications for the mom when it comes to kidney issues, liver issues, and then seizures. And
so scary.
I'm
sure something you didn't know anything about, right? Like you're just sort of like learning all these things as you go.
100%. And what makes it tricky is when you're mild to severe preeclamptic, there's guidelines by the medical like associations that are like, once you're 34 weeks, if you're severe preeclampsia, they induce you at where you're at, like 34 weeks and beyond. When I got diagnosed, I was like 33 and change. And then I ended up returning to labor and delivery when I was like 34 weeks in one day because I was having some symptoms again. And at that point, they're like, you don't exactly meet the severe criteria, but we think we should induce you. But if I'm mild preeclamptic, they would induce you at 37 weeks. So it was just like this kind of ball game of, should we wait till 37 weeks or call it now at 34 weeks? So we ended up making it a bit longer and made it till about 36 and 4 days, I think.
It's like the stubborn ultra runner in you. You're like, I'm going to outlast the predictions.
Totally. And what's interesting about preeclampsia is you kind of feel and know the symptoms coming on, like headaches and things like that. And the way you can make them better is by bed rest, usually. And that's not the exact like prescription you get from physicians these days, but physically, that was the only thing that made me feel good was being horizontal. So for somebody that was relatively active throughout my entire pregnancy, I ended up spending a week in the hospital and then got discharged and ended up spending 10 days at home, pretty much just exclusively chilling out, or going to coffee shops and chilling out too. That was kind of
Was
nice.
to say we had a nice like coffee brunch with you on our way through Salt Lake City up to Canada, and it was funny because I thought you were like literally couldn't move, but it was more like
Yeah,
yeah, it was like bed rest slash just like huge lifestyle change, right? Just
totally.
like very different from you being able to do anything you wanted. And
Yeah,
how
it's
did that
wild.
feel? Because like yeah, you were just like going full steam and not really having to adjust your life that much, and then all of a sudden it was like whoa, okay, now nothing.
Absolutely. It's really weird because all I wanted to do was just go for a walk, and just going up the stairs in my house would make me see stars.
Not
So
even
I'm
a
like,
run. Like,
not even
you're
a run.
like just a walk.
I don't care about running anymore. I just want to go for a walk. But yeah, I could not even do that, which was okay at the end of the day if it meant that I was like helping baby cook a little longer. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting challenge in
Mm.
pregnancy whenever you're trying to balance what's best for baby's health, which is staying in you as long as possible, but also what's best for mom, which is getting baby out of you as soon as possible. Which is a really really tough balance. And then yeah, from a physical activity standpoint, um, I think the last time I ran was Western States morning, and it's like I feel very far from an athlete right now, but I also feel like the physicality of labor didn't damage me too bad. That yeah, the idea of going for a walk or a run these days, I mean, it's weeks away, but it doesn't sound as intangible as it once did.
It's wild because it's like Western States doesn't feel that long ago, and yet I know so much has happened for you in that time.
Exactly a
I
month
mean,
today.
even when we
Actually.
were at the coffee shop and you were like, it's been so long. You know the like meme from the Titanic, it's been 84
Yeah.
years. And Mike's like, Leah, it's been a week and a half. And you're like, oh, right. Like, but time probably feels like it's just this whole other concept right now, too.
It's been a time warp, yeah. And I think whenever in pregnancy, you just like think in weeks often, and it's just like checking off one week after another, and just like hoping to reach that 40-week stage. But yeah, Western States still feels like it was forever ago, and I think we're barely a month ago at this point.
That's wild. And I want to talk about your sort of whole experience with the birth and everything like that, but I do want to circle back at some point to just like your relationship with running.
Mhm.
And that's sort of interesting, right? Because you go from being so immersed in the trail world to
Yeah.
just like very, very different perspective on what feels important right now, I'm sure.
Totally, totally. And like that was something I experienced just generally throughout pregnancy this year was I'm somebody that's just in tune with what's going on all the time because I love it. I love being on Strava. I love seeing like who's racing what, who's doing how at what they're racing. And I commented before Western States this year and before helping out at the single track house that I felt more out of tune
Mm.
than I ever have before with like the dynamics of people racing. And Finn was like, no, you got it. You always like, you know, enough about what's going on. But I truly felt like just out of touch a bit. And I think that part has been really interesting. It's like the less I'm competing, the more in touch and involved I am in the sport. But I'm also finding and found ways to stay involved in the sport, which I really enjoyed this past year. It was definitely a different perspective.
Yeah, and I love that because that's sort of whether you're injured or in whatever stage of life. I mean, Katie, I'm sure you relate a lot to that too, right? Like wherever you are, if you're not sort of the person doing the activity, like what is your relationship to the thing you love?
I think that's what makes a sport so cool is that you can
Yeah,
do it in so many different ways. You can be involved in all the different aspects of it, which make it really fun. But I want to ask some more like if I was in your shoes, I would be very scared, right?
hmm,
Like it's a scary feeling to not know what's going on with your body, that sort of thing. Like, how long is this baby going to cook? Do I just lay here and just hopefully I'm going to be fine? Like maternal versus fetal health. Like I want to stay alive. I want my baby to cook. Like kind of all these like roller coaster of emotions. Or was it more just like, well, they're telling me to stay chill. I'm gonna just stay chill. Like, did you feel like really supported from the medical perspective and just kind of feel secured in that decision and know that you would get help as soon as you needed to? Or were you kind of in this like scared roller coaster of emotions?
definitely a bit of both. So what was interesting was when I got admitted to the hospital around 34 weeks in a day, I had a good night's stay, and all the nurses were like, your vitals look good, your labs, like your kidney and liver labs look good. As long as like you're not having any major neurological symptoms, we classify you as mild, and we think you'll get discharged tomorrow. I was like, okay, cool. That's kind of like what I expected to hear. And then they're like, you just need to make it to 37 weeks now. And I was like, can do that. Like 37 weeks is a little shocking when you first hear it, but like that's considered a full term. And like most people make it there. And then the next morning, my doctor comes in and her comment was like, yeah, so I think we should induce you today. And me and Mike were just sitting there.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And that was the one thing I was not ready to hear and not expecting to hear. And she's like, so here's how inductions work. Here are your options. This is how this trends. And I think I said to her, I was like, can I have a minute? And we just took a beat and she's like, yeah, I can come back in 10 minutes, discuss with your husband. And I just looked at Mike and I was like, I feel just like weird about this right now. Like I know my symptoms are in this like mild range. They're not quite severe yet. And like, I just want to think about like what else are our options here as long as like mom is staying healthy. And I think that was the most shocking piece to me of the whole journey was getting that piece of information at 34 weeks, which I definitely was not expecting and was not quite prepared yet to have a baby.
Why did she say that? Was there something
because
on
my
your lab?
symptoms weren't fitting the traditional classification of the disease. And they're like preeclampsia is it's understood, not understood well yet. People don't really like know why it happens and why it happens the way it happens. So they're kind of being a little angsty about the more strange, like neurological symptoms I was experiencing. That was like, this could turn really fast. And we want to make sure that you're here and things don't escalate really fast and we're not prepared for it in like the state of a delivery. It becomes a major emergency, which I completely get.
That's so hard to know what to do in that situation because like you know your body so well, but also like these are the medical professionals. And also how scary that there's so little we know about these parts of women's health still. Like, well, what the hell?
Right.
It is wild. And like the one comment I kept getting from like a few of the medical professionals that stop in the room is like, you don't fit the bill for what is a typical like preeclampsia patient. Like your labs are looking good. You're not swollen in your face, your legs, everywhere. And you're just experiencing like this one side of symptoms. So I think it was pretty confusing to them at that time too, of like how to classify me because it would have changed how they were treating me too, which was complex. So I consulted a few of my other medical professionals who are at the University of Utah and a few other places just to get like their opinion. Because I was like, I'm not a medical naysayer by any means, but I did want to advocate for myself with like another option in this scenario. And the other option we ended up settling on with my physician was staying in the hospital for as long as I needed to be monitored there. So if things did escalate, my symptoms escalated, that we could do an induction at any point in time. And then luckily I ended up getting discharged after I think 6 days and then was like, I will come in at the first sign of anything being scary at home. And then it ended up being like at a routine appointment last week where my amniotic fluid was looking quite low. And my doctor's like, I think we need to induce you today. And I was like, okay, I accept that now. I'm
that
good.
feels better. Isn't that amazing? Like the maternal instinct of like, okay, this actually feels right compared to last week. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, she had a number that she was going off of. That was like, the amniotic fluid is below this number. This is how we proceed when it's below this number. I was like, okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Like numbers. Can you give me the numbers versus these weird, vague symptoms? Yeah.
But I will say, it was really scary, especially at that 34-week mark. I actually made a post on a story on Instagram just saying like, hey, this is really scary. Man, moms are rock stars. Like it just makes you look around in the world, look at everybody that exists out there and be like, a mom brought that person into this world and has endured potentially like traumatic labor stories, pregnancy stories, fertility stories. And man, it just puts so much respect on every mom figure out there because it's a freaking journey. But I had so many people reach out with just like success stories from preterm births to preeclampsia stories. And that was the best thing I could have ever done because it just flooded me with like all these positive affirmations and just like let me sit at peace. And I think when after that day passed, after my doctor and I had settled on a decision, I looked at Mike and I was like, I actually feel like I could deliver this baby now and I feel totally good about it. And I completely attribute that to like all the positive messages I had from people reaching out.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that. The power of moms. Oh,
I swear.
So good. Okay, so you are going to be induced. You find out this information. Okay, we were going to pod that day.
Yeah.
Leah's like, hey guys, I might be busy.
We're like, oh my God. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, the baby's going to be born today.
Yeah.
The day's never going to be the same this moment.
Yeah.
And then we didn't get another text for like 2 days. And I
Yeah.
like the three of us, like Rachel, Hilary, and I, and are like, "Is she okay? Rachel, have you heard? Da da da." We're like trying not to bother you. At one point I text Mike and I'm like, "No need to respond, but I love you so much and sending love, and but like just tell us she's okay." Because your support system, your community love you so much. And it is that like uncertainty still. And to your point, like we mentioned earlier, like how is it still so scary? Like delivering a baby is a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah. So you were told that you were going to be induced, and then tell us what happened after that.
Yeah, it ended up being a 39-hour induction process, which leads to that like 2-day number of
You're in hard rock territory.
Yes. And fortunately for me, was it my initial hospital stay was I was not quite during Hard Rock weekend, but there was so much racing out there for me to follow while I was in the hospital.
Commenting on everything and like I'm like, Leah has nothing to do except sit here in
my bed rest. My bed rest was just following Hard Rock, High Lonesome, and but yeah, the induction process just takes forever, especially when your body's not ready. Like I was close to 4 weeks early at this point when the induction started, and your body's just not ready. And I would have loved, like I had this vision of what my labor would look like, and you just really come to terms very fast with my labor is not going to look like that. That's okay. This is what's best for my health and baby's health at this point. But it was probably a good like 15 hours before things got truly 15 to 20 hours before things got truly rolling. And I like to say
just like titrating the Pitocin or what? And you just weren't feeling anything. Like your body's like, nope.
It took like probably a good like 12 hours till we actually started Pitocin. And then once that kicked off, that was pretty slow for me. But my pushing it, I only had to push for 30 minutes. Wow. And I know that was like, I was like, if I'm going to have close to a 40-hour labor, give me 30 minutes of pushing, please.
Nice.
And that was great. But it was very uneventful other than like a few concerns with baby along the way that we were just monitoring and had to go off Pitocin a couple times because he didn't love that. But he was a trooper. My blood pressures were pretty good the whole time, which was awesome because I think that's when it gets into the scary realm is like when you experience pain, your blood pressure spikes. So I was like, we'll see how long I go without an epidural. And 2 centimeters. I was like, give it to me.
Well, especially to your point, you're like, well, I don't want it to just spike up and then I have to have a C-section because you're telling me it's an emergency, but it's just pain. Yeah.
Totally. So there was like a cascade of events that ended up leading me to get an epidural when I did. But when it was all said and done, I was like, I can't fathom not having an epidural in a labor that went that long because that would have been absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so, okay, you have baby. Do you want to introduce him to the world?
His name is Monty Lee McMonigal. He's a little 4-pound, 13-ounce little bean. He's so tiny, but he's so cute. He looks like, man, I looked like a little Italian man when I was born, and he looks like a little Italian man.
He has a full head of hair. I did notice that. I'm like, he might be tiny. But
he's got sideburns. It's great.
Yeah. He's so cute. Gosh. He's like already got such a look, I know. Like so cute.
And I was thinking he looks so much like me. Like I told my mom, I was like, oh my God, he's like my mini me. Looks exactly like me as a baby. And then Mike's mom just sent us some photos of Mike as a baby. And I'm like, oh no, it's actually Mike too.
Aww.
So it's both of us for sure.
That's very cute. How did you guys settle on the names?
Good question. We were very much struggling like the whole we had so many girl names, and then we found out it was a boy around like 12 weeks, and we're like, oh shoot.
Names are so hard.
So Mike would like a lot of things, and I just hated them. And then I would like some things, and he's like, no, that sounds like so vanilla. And I was like, that's not that vanilla. But we live in Utah where there's some really like just bad names spelled wonky ways here in Utah.
Lots of biblical references, I'm sure.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't want anything that even resembles a name like that.
Ezekiel.
Yeah. So we ended up, I think it was a run probably like 4 months ago. We had like 3 names we were like kind of swimming around with. And we split up on this run, and then we reconvened towards the end of it, he and I. And I was like, I like Monty as a name. I was like, but I like it only with like these one syllable middle names. And I was like, what do you think about Lee? I like how it jives with Lee, which was my grandfather's middle name, who just passed away earlier this year and is a family middle name. And it's like a slight ode to myself. So I liked him having a little part of mom there.
I love it. Monty.
So
Okay, so I
cute.
don't know anybody named Monty. So
No, like, and often
where did
it's
this
like
come
a
from? I love it.
nickname. There's sometimes a nickname for like Montgomery or something like that. But I didn't love it with a Y on the end, but I really liked it with an E on the end. And then once we like settled on the name, we're like, oh, that actually is like Italian for mountain, which
Yeah,
is sweet.
That's
so
actually adorable.
Yeah. But that wasn't our initial like incentive for picking that name. It just ended up being like a nice double entendre towards the end.
Oh my gosh, I think it's so cute. Okay, so little nugget, Monty Lee is in the NICU still.
Yeah, he'll be there probably through like Wednesday or Thursday. Definitely past Wednesday this week. Probably like Thursday or Friday this week, I think. So when he was born, he was having a really hard time breathing, and it was poor Mike is adorable and doesn't know much about medicine, I swear. So I deliver him, and Mike is like, "Oh, he's so cute and purple," and my doctor was like, "That's not exactly what we want to hear." And the poor little guy was really struggling breathing. And he was just making these like little noises, like just trying to get his lungs to work. So he was really he had a lot of fetal distress, respiratory distress early on. So I ended up going pretty much straight to the NICU after we got a little bit of skin to skin time. And has been a champ with his lungs so far, like just completely exceeded expectations in his first 2 days in the NICU. And now it's just been like feeding. He needs to get off his little feeding tube, which takes some time. And he's been taking the bottle a little bit, getting through his tube, and then also breastfeeding a little bit. But he needs to prove himself for 2 full days that he can meet his nutrition needs without his feeding tube, and then he can get discharged. So they're taking it out tonight, and the 48-hour clock starts. So we'll see.
Well, he's got the ultra runner lungs.
I'm just so in awe of your poise right now. I mean, I just feel like after you deliver a baby, hormones are like crazy. There's so much going on. You're exhausted. You're going to the NICU all the time.
Yeah.
But you're like, yeah, but then he was purple, but then it was fine. He just went to the NICU for I'm like, I mean, maybe I'm just an emotional person, but it's just shocking how kind of even keeled you sound. Do you feel that way? Is that like, it feels like you have a lot of support and he's improving and everything's been good.
I think that helps. And we've been like, especially when he was born, Mike is normally the complete emotional mess of the two of us. And right after he was born, I felt like I knew a lot more of what was going on and what was happening in the moment. So I was just not very good. And then in the days after, as he's been improving a lot, and just that anticipation of like going over to the NICU every day and getting to see him and spend time with him and seeing like the incremental progress. It's kind of like in training when each week you're seeing something new or seeing a breakthrough with yourself. It's like these little milestones, like every day he's losing a new tube and he's doing great. And I know there's going to be setbacks along the way, but it's been just positive so far. And like, I think just leaning on Mike and a lot of our friends and family through it all has been really, really helpful. But I think the progress definitely helps. I think I'd be faring a little bit worse if we had some more like blips on the radar here.
How are you doing after giving birth to a human? And was that experience, I mean, as someone that has not yet given birth to a human, Katie, I know you have some wonderful humans that you brought into the world, but like, how was that experience compared to what you were expecting or what you were set up for? And I know you delivered a smaller baby than you would have otherwise. And just like, like I'm just fascinated because it's something that it's like this mythical experience, right? Like
Totally. And there were so many people throughout the process that are like, you're an ultra runner, you've run for 6 days, like you are physically capable of this. All the nurses were like, oh yeah, like you're in shape for this. And yes, that part is like true to some degree. Like I was facing it like it was an endurance event. And one of the things I kept leaning on going into it was I'm very used to seeing a daunting task on the table and being prepared to encounter and endure it, which I think is a feature that a lot of ultra runners have in their favor going into childbirth. Like I think there's a lot of people who don't run endurance events or ultra endurance events that haven't really had to experience that daunting nature of a task ever before, or maybe in the same way. So I felt very well equipped for that. And like, just kind of like physically ready for the extent of a labor to be 48 hours if it needed to be. And then I did learn, we had some good birth classes that really helped me prepare mentally. So I was listening to these like instrumental piano playlists throughout. And every time one of my nurses would come in, they'd be like, you got a nice vibe in here. And I was like, I'm trying.
I'm in my Zen era.
Yeah. It was like, I listened to this podcast, I think a couple years ago, right after Nick Curry set the American record for, I think, 24 hours. And it was a hot day. And he said that he was listening to like Christmas music to make himself like get in that like winter zone to make himself feel colder. And it was almost like that when you're like going through labor, you just want to think like all these calm things, like have a calm mind, relaxed mind, peaceful mind. So I was just trying to think a lot of those thoughts throughout, not necessarily singing like Christmas music to myself like Nick, but
That is hilarious,
I've
though.
never done
But
that.
I mean, hey, is the thing about ultras, like we do know that your mind is so powerful. I mean, that was my whole hard rock race too. That's like so many of
totally.
these experiences. And yeah, it's a different physical experience, but like even going aid station to aid station, or for you, like milestone to milestone, you know?
Totally. And that's exactly what Mike kept trying to tell me throughout the process too, was like, we are going aid station to aid station here. Every contraction was kind of these things that we needed to get through and get to the next one. What was really interesting was when you're induced, you're just experiencing everything synthetically, and your body is not really in control of itself. And like what you're experiencing in your body is 100% controlled by a dial on a medication inducing some sort of reaction in you. And my body reacted very extremely to Pitocin, to the point where normally whenever you're in labor, you want your contractions to be like 2 to 3 minutes apart. Kind of like extreme in nature towards the later stages. And I was experiencing that style of contraction when I was like 1 and 2 centimeters dilated. And they were actually like 60 seconds apart. So I was getting no break through them.
Ooh.
And in my mind, I'm like, if this is how the rest of labor is going to be, there's no way I can do
It's
it.
so not natural. Yeah.
It's
Leah,
so not
my
natural.
second,
So
I was induced, and I know exactly. It went from like 0 to like, whoa, wait, not ready for that. Like you're not
totally.
easing in. We're not
No,
pacing ourselves here. It's just like 0 to hero. Let's go, and
You
your
started
body's not
sprinting
ready
towards
for
the
it.
finish line.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
we're not track stars here. Okay. We need to pace ourselves. Yeah.
We're doing the
Yeah.
sprint around the track at Western States and we're still on the escarpment. Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
And it felt like that. It was like that daunting nature of like, I never go out extremely hard in races. And it felt like my body was going out hard in a race. And there was no way in hell it was going to survive the rest of that race without some kind of reprieve, which ended up being me getting an epidural, which was extremely helpful. But it was interesting how much we leaned on just race day tactics throughout. It sounds kind of corny, but there was a lot from further that I leaned into, because at further we just did so many of these like mini resets. And I did one of these like big resets right before we hit the pushing stage, where I told Mike, I was like, I want to brush my teeth. I want to like put lotion on my face. I want to feel like it's a new day. I'm a new person. So if pushing ends up being like a several hour ordeal, like I'm mentally reset and ready for that. And that was so helpful.
did you have snacks?
Yeah, it was actually not too bad. Like my sisters have both had labors where like they were pretty restricted from what they could eat. I even had scratch super fuel. I made Mike make me a bottle like halfway through, and I was like, but my baby really liked sugar throughout the process. And like anytime we had on our labor and delivery floor, they're called frazzles. They're like these little like 7-Eleven slushies pretty much. And baby just absolutely adored those. Anytime I'd have a slushie, his heart rate would be like just jiving. So my nurse was like, can you actually eat a slushie now? Because he was really happy when you did that. I was like, sure.
Steroids and
So not to ask me
slushies.
twice.
Yeah. But I was really sick of sugar when it was all said and done, because all of what you're eating is just like, it's like race food, just like straight processed sugars. And I was like, I think I delivered him. And I looked at Mike, I was like, I just want some protein.
Yeah. Get me a salad with
Green
chicken.
juice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I bet. But it's sort of weird because I would imagine it is like a race. So you just have to sort of stay in the moment of what goes down easily and like just sort of
Totally.
keep the energy levels up. And you don't really know how long you're in it for either. Sort of like, okay.
Yeah, I actually did take a Martin gel at some point. Mike was like, oh, we're
I
at that
knew
level
it.
now. was like, I
Oh
need
my
something
gosh.
fast. I need
With
my
caffeine or without caffeine?
well, I really wanted a caffeinated one, but then I was like unsure about like how that would impact my vitals. And then I was actually Googling this as I was in labor.
Yeah.
Like
You're like,
how much
I'm
caffeine can I
preeclamptic, probably not.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
But
Martin
maybe.
the Martin caffeinated gels hit me like no other gel, and it's always like my rocket fuel in races. So there was nothing I wanted more than that, but I had to refrain and just do a uncaffeinated one.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Okay, I want to hear about what's going on. How's Mike and how's like community, family?
Oh.
How's that?
Yeah,
How are you
Mike's
guys
great.
doing?
Every time we leave the neighborhood to drive over to the NICU, I just like look over at the driver's seat and he's just got tears rolling down his face and he's looking up at the hillside like I'm so excited to just like open like having a baby just opens up so many new doors and like opens your mind to like all the opportunity that exists in the world to show your baby some aspect of the world. He's like look how green those hills look right now. They're beautiful. I can't wait to show Monty the hills. So it's
Mhm.
that just your eyes are open to all the things that you kind of underappreciate and undervalue in your day-to-day life that
Mm.
have meaning, but you don't recognize that meaning. And I think we're both just recognizing all the meaning that just the little things around us have. And it feels really special.
That actually makes me like emotional. That's so beautifully said.
Yeah, I'm like crying. I'm remembering
Oh,
taking my kid, like Noah, my firstborn, outside, and there was a farmer's market at the hospital that morning, and taking him to
oh,
the flowers and being like, "This is a flower. I can't wait for
yeah.
you to experience all the colors," and like being like, just I want to show you all the things. And I would park. He had like a little bouncy thing, and I would just park it
Oh,
next to a little tree, and he would just like sit and look at the tree, like while mom's in the shower or something. Like
that's
I
so
want to I want you to
nice.
just see trees and grass and flowers and be outside, and you just want to explore all the things. You want to teach them all the things. It's so much fun. It's all new,
It's
brand
it's
new.
all new and
Oh, it's so
it's
fun.
really special. It's really cool.
Oh, I love that. I think I mean, that's something that I hope to experience and sort of the thing I think that sounds so beautiful about parenthood. And it's nice for you to like confirm that. Because to me, I'm
Yeah.
like, that does seem like the most rewarding part. And I'm like, I can't use like, oh, I want someone to take care of me when I'm older. I know that's not good enough, but like,
Oh
but
man.
getting to like experience the world again through new eyes, like, okay, I'm like, that seems like a much better reason to have a kid.
Oh, Hilary, if only. If that's why, that's not worth it.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Katie's like, which one of these guys is going to take care of me when I'm older?
Oh my god.
Still
Oh,
working
I've
on
got
that.
some stories. Oh man.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah,
Leah,
totally.
I'm so happy for you guys. It's so fun. Okay, so your schedule right now is back and forth to the NICU. Monty's coming home soon.
Soon.
You're pumping at home, just kind of preparing, like nursery's ready to go. Like what's the
Yeah, we're
next week look like?
yeah, that 34 week like note from my doctor saying I was getting induced that day was like the biggest kick in the butt that we ever needed ever. The one thing I always tell people about myself, whether this is like work, racing, life, is I work extremely well under deadlines.
Mm.
But if I don't have a deadline, there's just nothing pushing me to get something done. That's why I always like to have races on the calendar because it helps me like frame my mind and structure things accordingly. So hearing that I was going to have a baby in the next 3 weeks at 34 weeks, I was like, okay, we need to get our life together. And I was just like nesting mode on steroids for those 3 weeks. So we are
Not
very ready for
actually on
baby.
steroids, for the record.
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're very ready. And life when he's in the NICU is going there for like 6 hours, like 2 times a day. So we've been going like usually from like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then we go back around like 7 p.m. till about midnight. And it's been really nice. Just like it's so simple. It is so simple. You just sit there and you hang out with him. And I'm just sitting in this chair for hours on end. Like there's nothing I'd rather be doing.
Hmm.
And then I'm also
Just like
like pumping
staring at all the
every
features.
2 to 3 hours, which is less glamorous and less fun because like at least once the baby's home, you can like pump and have baby close by while you're doing these things. And I'm just pumping for the sake of pumping to give him good
Is
nutrition.
that what it
So
sounds like? Do you have
Very
like
I'm
a song
functional.
with it yet?
figuring out a good rhythm.
Yeah.
Especially I've been like pumping in my room at night. And the first night I went down to the living room and I was like, oh, that was kind of a lot and that was taxing. So I told Mike, I was like, I'm just going to do this in our room. And then he's snoring away next to me. I'm like, perfect. You stay asleep. He's like, well, I want to wake up and help if there's anything. I was like, there's literally nothing you can help me
Yeah.
with. So you just get some good sleep.
Oh man. And how are you feeling physically? Like I know like probably moving, everything feels like
Yeah, I feel
you need to take it
surprisingly
slow.
good. I could see how people get carried away in this time
Mm.
post delivery of walking and hiking and things like that. I feel really, physically decent, I think. But I can usually tell by 11 p.m. most days if I've done like a little too much that day. I'm like, I need to chill out. But yeah, physically, like feeling pretty decent. Feeling like most of the post pregnancy things. But honestly, I think I have it pretty good given the fact that my labor was close to 40 hours and not a ton of pushing. So hopefully that means good things for my postpartum recovery. But we'll see.
How do you feel like mentally you're approaching this sort of chapter of like post baby and just like, do you feel like you sort of have a sense of like how quickly you'd like to get back to things or like, like how are you just sort of
Yeah.
like entering into it?
You have this vision of how you think things will happen, and I
Right.
know it never quite matches up. And that was even with my build up into like the end of my pregnancy here. I had great running through 12 weeks, mediocre but still pretty decent running through most of the second trimester, and then third trimester started to feel quite good again. And I was like, I'm going to end up running till like the end. This is amazing. And then looking back, I'm like, okay, I made it to 33 weeks, but it was like my body that had limited it rather than like my I guess my systems that had limited it more than my like physical body, which was kind of a tough challenge to wrap my head around. And
Mhm.
then this time around, I think it'll be my physical body that will limit me more than my like physiological processes. So I think working with what I've got where I'm at will be helpful. And I mean, I got to spend one less month being pregnant, which is not the worst thing in the world. Other than like I would have loved if my baby could have chilled in there a little longer. But
Yeah.
from like a physical return standpoint, that part's not the worst. But I just told Mike today, I'm like, I think like having something on the calendar in the fall will be nice, not to like put pressure on me, but just to like look forward to from a fun perspective. Like there's a local race here that I did last year that's like 20 miles. I think it's end of October. And I'm like, even if that just ends up being like a nice hike in the mountains, like that sounds pretty great. But also feeling no pressure.
Yeah, it feels like you're entering into the fourth trimester, right? Which
Yeah.
is, I mean, we all would say the best, right? Because you have your
Yeah.
baby, but also can have these swings of hormones, and also
Hmm.
you think you're starting to master it, like after some hardship, and then you're like, the schedule's thrown out the window again, and now baby needs something else, and there's all these other things.
Totally.
But it's also the most sacred time because it's just you and baby growing together, and you're transforming as a person, and baby's transforming, and you and
Yeah,
Mike are transforming. It's like all these new beginnings, and it's so exciting. There's so much going on all at once. But it can also be a little overwhelming. And it's
totally.
having that like goals still on the calendar of still things like to be proud of for your own self,
Hmm.
like not losing your identity in that is pretty cool. But also being like open to flexibility, um,
Definitely.
yeah.
That's something we talk about a lot too. Like historically, we have not done a lot of running from our door here at home.
Mm,
And like it's mostly because the trails aren't the most conducive usually to like what I'm training for from the door. But like we have in theory a 6,000 foot climb in 6 miles from our door that goes up to an 11,000 foot peak that we could do. And I don't do it very often
I'm
because it's
very
pretty
jealous.
technical. Yeah.
oh my god.
And I'm like, I don't always want to do that. But there is a nice little like 3 mile cruisy trail that we can do from our door. So I do think like even in that respect of going to be like knocking out, I'm going to have an hour. I'm going to want to knock something out quick. I just feel like we're going to appreciate what we have, the access we
Mhm.
have from our door a lot more than we ever have before. And I'm really looking forward to that, even if they're not my favorite style of trail or exactly what's conducive to training. I know it's going to be what I can get in and when I can get it in. And I think we see a lot of other athletes in the sport find high value in that. Like that's something
Mhm.
Caleb Wilson talked a lot about. Having his new baby at Western States this year was just like how valuable training from the door was from like a time perspective, but also, yeah, even a training perspective.
It was interesting for our listeners when I did a podcast with Scott Jurek. I think earlier this year or last year, I don't know, whatever it was. But that episode, he talked a lot about not necessarily finding the most inspiring trails all the time. And like, yeah, he's running the most beautiful places, but just appreciating that like daily routine of the thing that's outside your door. And that really resonated. And I think, Leah, you're exactly right. Like there's seasons in life when we have the luxury of time. And then there's seasons when it's like,
And your
well, if I have an
season's
hour,
over. That season is no
yeah.
longer. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
Katie's
just
going to
changed.
dispel that right now.
Yeah, it's gone.
But yeah, like different priorities, and you're still making time for it. It just might look a little different,
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think I could see my return to run, like after I'm cleared. Something I definitely could foresee is doing a lot more road running for a while, and then Mike and I doing hikes with baby to like supplement that training. And that sounds actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
I think
Sounds
road
great.
running from our door. We don't live in a great place for road running, period. But even today on the way to the hospital, Mike's like, it's really interesting. It's a 22-minute drive to the hospital. And he's like, just doing this drive every day has given me an appreciation for the road running that we can do like in that direction towards the hospital. So I'm like, even doing something like that where this drive initially was completely monotonous and now it's just looking like opportunity, which is a nice, refreshing way of looking at it.
Oh my
I
gosh,
love it.
you're making me also think about. I know that Tyler had Lou on his back for training for UTMB for
Totally.
like most of his training, right? I mean,
Yeah.
probably using an Osprey pack. I don't know if you want to give a plug. But
Yeah, no, I just texted our Osprey guys like 2 days ago and told them about how we had our baby. And I'm just like, I'm so grateful for the support that I've gotten from all my brand partners in the last year. Osprey being probably at the front of that list with the level of support. And something that Vince had responded with was, "Oh, great, another kid for the Osprey Poco pack." And I was like,
they're
absolutely,
everywhere. Leah, you're going to see them everywhere. I see them literally on every trail. And I mean, for a while, I was always taking pictures, very like weird.
Yeah.
Like you don't take pictures of people's kids, but I'm like, no, I'm just taking a picture of the pack. Because I would send it to
Like
Vince and be
zooming
like,
in.
Osprey in the wilds, and he's like, yeah, I get it. Like they're everywhere,
Exactly.
But it's the go-to pack. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Tyler used a bunch out in Chamonix when we stayed with them during when he and I were both building for UTMB in 2023. And that just complemented his training so well. He'd have Lou in the Poco pack every day going for at least like 1,000 feet and then would have his daily run out there as well. So I'm really excited to look for ways to like supplement my training with these like new family activities together.
You and
that we haven't
Rachel could be
experienced.
matching with your
Totally.
poker
I'm so
packs.
excited. Like the sad part about me going so early is Rachel and I initially were only 9 days apart in our due dates, and now we're going to be like a month apart. But our babies will probably still be the same size because mine's a little peanut.
Little peanut.
That's true.
We love you,
Aw.
Monty.
Oh,
We're
Leah,
gonna
we are
have this again
so
in a month
excited.
with Rachel. It's
I
so
know.
fun.
I know. It's funny you mentioned just like kind of like upending life plans too, Katie, and just like how it's tough to plan for anything because going into July we just had like this plan of okay, we're gonna both go to Hard Rock together, and Mike was gonna shoot for On, he was gonna shoot Katie and Germain, and he was so excited about it. It was his first contract ever with On, and like what better way to do it than follow Katie Scheid in a course record breaking year at Hard Rock, and then I get hospitalized for 6 days like right before Hard Rock. And then he has to deal with like the professionalism of like balancing life with work and being like, hey, this takes priority and this is
Wasn't he
definitely
shooting
unfortunate
Speed
timing.
Goat this last weekend?
Yeah. Well, and then so we ended
I
up
saw
sticking
that.
around Hard Rock weekend. I got discharged the day before Hard Rock, or day of Hard Rock actually, and he ended up being able to go shoot the Cirque series then up at Snowbird, which was like a nice caveat. I mean, it was a fraction of the contract for Hard Rock, but it was a really cool opportunity. And then he was also signed up for High Lonesome, which was the week after Hard Rock, and then he had to pull out from that because our doctor was like, "You're going to deliver any day here, so probably need to write that off." And then, I delivered the baby on Wednesday, and we knew that he was going to be in the NICU for a few days, and like I was just getting discharged around Friday. And Speed Goat had a few races going on this weekend: the 28K on Friday, and then the 50K on Saturday. And I was like, just go shoot Speed Goat. Like I'm good here in the hospital. I'm just eating my lunch, chill in bed, like looking at the NICU camera on the baby. Like, you're good. I get to hang out with Monty for hours on end. And yeah, you go have yourself a day. So people up there were like, oh my God, like, good luck. I know you're having a baby soon. And Michael's like, I'm already a dad.
Oh my gosh. They're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Like, we're in this weird limbo. It's fine.
Yeah, he saw Christian Allen there, like leading the 28K. And I think like he was cheering for Christian. He's like, guess what, man? I'm a dad. And then they were like, dad power.
Oh,
But
I love that.
Christian's wife, Summer, just delivered their fourth baby this past week. And I'm like, you guys are rock stars. They're like 28 years old already with 4 little ones. And then she was out there supporting him this weekend. I think,
she's
with
a
all the
killer
kids.
runner too.
She
Dude.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's performed. She got, I forget, I think she was second or third in the VK the
So
Dragon's
good.
Ascent at Mammoth Trail Fest. And I was like, who are you? Oh my God, that was so fast. I thought she was on the
Yeah.
trail team. And she's like Summer. I mean, I just was surprised. I didn't know that she was such an insane runner. And she's like, well, I just keep having babies, so I can't ever train. I'm like, oh my God. And then she's pregnant again. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
wild. Like,
Yeah.
what a baller.
Pop them out and then keep training. Yep.
I just want to spend a couple minutes just pivoting to more like kid power, Katie, because you just got back from your like epic crushing of 14ers with kids, and pretty sure you guys did more 14ers in 2 days than I did during Hard Rock. So do you want to just like give us a little summary of that?
So we pride ourselves. We're mountain people, right? We live in the mountains. We breathe the mountains. We're here. We live in Mammoth Lakes, and we're surrounded by just the most unbelievable beauty. And also, our friends also are just incredible mountaineers and climbers, and people have also lived in the mountains. Like everyone in Mammoth is so outdoorsy and amazing and cool. And Pete and I think we can do hard things, and we think that we are mountain people. And then we went on this backpacking trip with some of our friends, and we were like, oh wow, you guys just free solo these 14ers. Like oh my gosh. So this was a little bit, there was one peak particularly that I was like a little bit outside of my mother heart. Like I'm like, I don't love this. But we did, my kids were freaking crushers. My kids were like, just got off a week of rock climbing camp and multi-pitching and doing all, they're just like,
so cool.
they're just rad. They just have no fear, but they're like also smart.
Yeah.
And they trust them, and they're like, Mom, I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, all right. This is a no fall zone, honey. I got it. And he's like my 8-year-old staring at me like, Mom, I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, I have to trust you. And I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to start crying, like, whoo. So I think I've had these like roller coaster of emotion this past 3 days. Leah, like listening to you feel so calm and like everything's okay. And I'm like, but then you put them out into the world and it's like, anything can happen. And it's just, you have to let them fly and be their own person, and you have to trust them, but within limits. And there's also this risk versus benefit. I'm like, I don't care about summiting this peak anymore because those, whatever. Anyway, so that was interesting, but we summited Langley, Muir, and Whitney in 3 days. The kids absolutely crushed. We finished in the dark. We got home at 1 a.m. last night. It was an insane mountain adventure. The kids, there were 4 kids on the trip. We took the Mountaineers route down Whitney, and there's snow. We had to like rope the kids because there was like absolutely no fall. Like we shouldn't have done that other peak that was also no fall. But this, the Mountaineers route off Mount Whitney was, it's like you fall, you die. And it's scary. It's so scary, but you're also living big and you're doing epic things. And we tried to be as safe as possible. And I'm really happy we did it. And also cortisol was like surging through my veins for like hours upon hours. And Pete and I were like, I'm not sure this was like, the most relaxing vacation. But it was really fun. It wasn't like we knew it was going to be relaxing, but like it was, it was a lot, like massive days, 16
How do the
hours
kids handle that
every day. It was wild. What's that?
Like, how do the kids handle that? Like, are you sort of like coaxing them and bribing them with candy? Or like, how do they
No,
sort
they're
of stay
crusher.
motivated?
They're stoked. So it's nighttime. We've already had these massive 2 days, right? Summited 3 14ers. And it's like, they're like so excited because it feels like we're going through the rainforest in the dark. And because it's like, they're so stoked. And I think having all 4 of them together was really helpful. Liam had a low going up Whitney where he's like, Mom, he had too much sodium. So I totally overdosed my child on sodium. Hypernatremia is a thing. And if you've experienced it in an ultra, back to how ultra running and parenting just overlaps, Leah. So like I have definitely experienced that where basically just fluid coming out of yourself.
Poor thing.
And he had that. And I was like, well, I think it's because we gave you these backpacking, meals that have like 1,500 milligrams of sodium in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
For a
we
kid,
need to eat calories, like eat the whole thing. Like you guys need to eat up. And then I'm like, oh my God, I've overdosed you. So he was a wreck going up Whitney and he's like, I can do hard things, Mom. I got this. And I'm like, oh my God, am I like, my children are so tough and like, but also take care of yourselves. And I love you. And it's okay to be gentle with yourselves. It's this fine line in these high lows, man. Like it's a lot. But
it's crazy though, Katie. It feels like they've learned a lot from watching you though, too.
Yeah.
With, like the positive self-talk, the stoke, like those are all things that I know you do really well. So it's probably really inspiring to see your kids take away some of the little features that surrounding them in this like endurance lifestyle like provides for them.
Yeah. And they're smart. Like I trust them as climbers. I trust them as, mountain people. And like, they're always paying attention to weather and they're just very in tune with the mountain, which we've instilled that in them, and I think that is a big part of it as well, where I'm like, the trust is a big, you have to earn that trust and they've earned it and time again. But it's also let's just get home safe and sound,
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, let's just like, can I cuddle you and love you and be safe?
Read a book in bed.
Yeah. So anyways, that's my little update. Thanks for asking, Hill. It was quite an adventurous weekend. Yeah, I know. Anyway, lots of high altitude, man. I'm training for Leadville and high altitude. I mean, time on feet. I've got that down.
Totally.
Training the gut at 14,000 feet,
What's the race date again, Katie?
August 16th.
August 16th. So, okay. So like 3 weeks.
Monty's birthday. I mean,
yeah, Monty's birthday. Actual.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll see. But I'm just like, I'm living large, living the mountain summer life, which has been really fun. So
I love it.
Yeah. Hild, what's your update? When are you coming to visit me in Mammoth?
I know. Actually, I am. Second week of August, Tim and I just nailed down. I'm going to come up for a bit and get out on the course and just do all the things. I'm very immersed in the Mammoth stuff right now. I'm feeling the pressure to make sure all the ducks are in a row. Like, oh, cool. We've got all these people coming to run this giant, huge event. And I got to really make sure that we have everything in place. So it's cool. Learning a lot. It's my first, RD big event. And so I have lists on lists. Him and I have weekly calls right now. He's been just an amazing resource and support and just like, learning very much, but really exciting and just like fun. I get to like design the clothing stuff and just like fun pieces, but then also just pieces where it's like, hey, we need to go and count tables and order, tents for aid stations. And, like there's just like a mix of everything right now. So it's good. It's just sort of like a wild pivot from hard rock a couple weeks ago. But actually tomorrow, Billy and I are going to go and do one of my favorite point to point routes. It's called the House on Crest Trail up in BC. And it's like basically going along all these ridges with the entire like ocean below you on the way up to Squamish. And it's gorgeous. And we're going with our friends Jeff and Audrey, and Jeff just did Badwater a few weeks ago. And so I'm like, great, this is good. We're going to pull up the rear, the like slow post 100 milers back here. And then Billy and Audrey can race ahead and like do their training and it's going to be fine. But I haven't actually tested my legs on anything more than like pretty flat stuff so far. So we'll see how it goes. And my shoes are giving me the hot spots that were there. If I wear those shoes, it brings the hot spots back. It's like it's all very tender and new skin. So it's sort of like there's things like that where I'm like, I think I have to just sort of like totally change my like gear approach and everything right now. So I'm not like triggering issues. So yeah, I got to go pack some nutrition and like pull out stuff that I packed away after a hard rock. But
I know I always like love and hate that after a big race where your nutrition goes kind of awry and you have all these things you plan to do,
Yes.
and then they don't exactly go to plan, and then you're left with the race with like all this extra nutrition. You're like, okay, well that's kind of nice. I have all this now, but at the same time, it would have been better if that went into my body.
Totally, Leah. Oh my God. I have all these prepackaged scratch bags and all these little baggies of food. So I'm literally going to pull it all out and then put it in my bag and see if I like do a better job eating it tomorrow than I did during Hard Rock.
That was one of our, when we spent a month in Europe last summer, that was one of our motivations, was like, we are going home with an empty suitcase of race nutrition. Like, we need to eat this. And it, like, even during UTMB when Mike was racing, I'd be like, we're not going home with those gels. Like, put those in your system. He's like, okay.
He's like throwing gels as he comes into the aid station. So true. So fun. Leah, we're so excited for you and Mike. We love you guys so much. We're just happy that you're healthy, that baby's healthy.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, thanks for taking the time. I know this was like our perfect little window to record this before life gets crazy for you again. So I'm super interested next time we get you on the pod after you've had Monty home and had a bit of sleep and gotten into a routine, just like what life looks like for you guys. But
yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride, and I'm Katie. Your hat says "wild child," and I think that's very much what that little guy is gonna be, and I'm so excited for it.
She wore it in your honor.
I did. I was like, what do I told you before we started the pod, I was like, I should wear it here for the women's race shirt because I'm just like, go Leah. And then I'm like, no, I want it to be here for the Monty race shirt, but like.
We've got a good balance now. Me and Hilary
start a whole Reddit thread about that, you guys.
We're both wearing the Here for the Women's Race shirt, and then I have the wild child hat on. Anyways, it's all for Monty, you guys.
And very fitting. We're here. Yeah. We're here for you guys.
Very fun.
Well, we love you. Congratulations. We're so excited for you. And
the journey has just begun.
Stock up on sleep, girl.
I'm trying to stock up.
We love you.
All right.
Till next time, Trail Fam.